Tu, 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 tu.
Do, do, do. Hola, mi gente. This is Alex, and this is.
Ra, do you notice
We're wearing some new hats today.
it? I think it's going to be a thing that whenever you see us doing a new episode, we may have new crowns adorning our head. And this one is very special because it represents for us Maha, Make America Healthy Again.
And why is it special for you? That's a great question. Like for you personally.
I feel like, well, let's set the stage a little bit.
Set the stage. Set the stage.
We are in Albany, New York.
That's right. We're here visiting Kathy.
Kathy Hochul and the rest of the politicos because, we do engage in our duties as community members. We don't just yap it up online or yap it up with the community members on the streets.
Even though we love to yap it up online and with the community members in the street, but we have also learned and have come to really enjoy the importance of coming up here and visiting our elected and getting to know them better and letting them know how we feel about things.
Right, because when people come up here in Albany, for example, and, some people are directly setting up meetings or dropping off a flyer, like some people that we're here with, dropping off flyers with bills that we are concerned about, bills that are good and bills that are not so good, but all of it that involves our human rights, In New York, dire things are happening, and we just want to share this with you. So why does this feel like a graduation? Well, if you guys have been following our journey since 2020, we started speaking out, and cancel cultured and censored. One of the biggest community members that was censored online right away was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right? As you know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was running for president. He was running at first. He announced his candidacy under the Democratic Party, and then October 2023, he announced that he was leaving the Democratic Party and becoming an independent. And then we know that when in the political race, it seemed like Trump is the one that has been favored. He's the one. He threw his support over to Donald Trump. They both spoke. They are obviously in an alliance. And, Trump's thing is make America great again. But the Perez sisters, we've been really Team Maha before we knew what Maha was.
100%. Because one of the things we really love about Bobby Kennedy is not only that he really supported and spoke up and supported so many of us when we were fighting for medical freedom or when we were fighting to be able to have the freedom to even express that. But we also have a lot of respect for him because he really does have a career fighting for the health of our children. So whether or not you know that about him, I encourage you to get to know him and the work that he's done. Sometimes it's important to not just listen to what you're seeing on social media per se or the TV. Like, do a little research on what a person has dedicated their life to outside of like the titles, because it will say so much about their character. And one thing about him that I personally, and especially as a mom, and one of the first ways I got introduced to him was that he was always supporting children and families, to be able to have the freedom to choose if they wanted to vaccinate their children, but then also always striving for wanting to protect our kids in the best ways that he could when it comes to health. And to me, when I look at his career, the things he's dedicated himself to, the expertise that he has particularly developed along the way, I'm so excited for the position that he's going to have in this administration. This is something, the reason why we both feel very passionate about this is because, like so many people feel, when it comes to the health of our children, of the future, it has nothing to do with politics. It shouldn't. It's not a topic that should be polarized. It shouldn't be bipartisan. We should all be on the same page. Like, we should all be fighting on the same page, on the same lines, to do everything in our power. And if you don't have children, I'm sure that you have nieces or nephews, cousins, or just children that you know, or just the idea that you want evolution to continue in the strongest way possible. And we should all be on that same page, family. Like, enough with the fighting, the bickering, the little things. So we're excited, when we think about Maha, when we think about the potential that we're at this moment, to be able to see things shift, to support those efforts feels really good. And we're not saying that, from the perspective of trying to be naive and we're like, oh, everything's perfect. No, we know that there's a lot of battle, there's a lot of work ahead of us. You can't undo decades and decades and decades of a lot of damage, a lot of old systems, a lot of old beliefs in a day or a week or a month or even years. But it can and will start somewhere. And if we all band together and work together, we can make this move faster and smoother in the best way possible. But also very much understanding that it's going to take time and it's going to take hard work, and we need you, mi gente. We need you to not go dormant, to not hang up your boots, to not think, okay, Trump won if you supported him, or to not think, okay, Bobby will be in this great position, he'll take care of it. No, don't look for your neighbor to just do it, or for that person that is an active person. Like, you got to figure out how you can do your part, and that could be starting in your home, within your relatives, within your school boards, within your direct community. It doesn't have to be that you have to do the same level of work or the same types of work as others that you may see online, but just look at your life and figure out, how can I be helpful when it comes to these efforts?
Yeah, that's a great point. And we are waiting for his nomination to be confirmed. What we hear is that Robert F. Kennedy has enough votes to be confirmed. Now we just have to wait for all that to be official.
For it to become official,
Now,
that's right.
the importance of what's happening in New York City, down to the most simplest way that we can explain it to you. If you are a parent and you care and you believe that you have rights over your children, and you must be thinking, like, what do you mean I believe I have rights over my children? Is this woman crazy? Of course I have rights over the children that came out of my vagina, like my sister likes to tell me all of the time. But in New York, those rights are getting away from the parents. And what's happening is that you send your kid to school and your kid is having all of this type of education thrown at them. And if your kid is feeling curious about certain conversations, it could be anything, but if it's related to the subject of health, if whatever that conversation is happening in with your kid or in school, if, let's say, you don't approve of what that conversation is, guess what? You might be seen as the bad parent, as the parent that's not supporting your child. And it's really sad. So let me just give you an example. What can Angel be talking about? There are kids who have gone to school and without their parents knowing or understanding, they have received vaccination shots. And we're just not talking about COVID shots. That did happen. We've heard stories. But can you imagine, you send your kid to school? Who the heck has an authority to put anything that you did not consent to into your kid's body? Not an injection, not medication. If that kid lives under your roof, if that kid is under 18, don't you think that it's the parents' right to know? So a lot of us have been coming here for years. We have people that have been coming here, like John Gilmore, for over 20 years, raising awareness for parental rights, for medical freedom, and for the concoction of vaccines that are given to children that are leading to damage that is so unnecessary. And if you care about your rights, if you care about your health, if you care about your children's health and wellness, this, like my sister said, shouldn't be a political conversation. Look, mi gente, we can understand those of you who are like, I'm not a Trump fan, I'm not a MAGA. I get that. We get that. But we're not talking to you about that. We're talking to you about health. And I have to say, us in the Perez's, we beat our health statistics as a family is worse than whatever the national average is in terms of detrimental health impacts. Our dad passed away at the age of 60. So many of his siblings passed away too early.
Well, give him the literal statistic. There was 12 siblings, and only one is left. And all of them have died of the same diseases, and they all have died within the same age range and younger. That's sad. Really, really sad. And yes, some of these
Interesting that you say the word sad, because that is the acronym for Standard American Diet. It's a sad diet because this sad diet that's influenced by the United States has influenced other countries and places around the world. And this American sad diet, whenever anybody puts it into their way of life, the results are not great. They're not living healthy.
I what's important to also remember is that Maha is not just about representing children. Sure, you will hear people always associate Maha with the children because that's everyone's usual priority. Pero when you think about just health and this country, we are one of the most unhealthiest countries. Like fam, think about it. How could a country that's supposedly so advanced,
So wealthy.
so have so much resources, be so unhealthy? And fam, not just on a physical level, mental. I mean, look at our chronic mental disease in this country. Emotional, spiritual. When we are talking about Maha, when we're talking about health, when we're talking about it's time to begin turning the tides, it's for all of us at any age, no matter where you live, no matter what your political affiliation is, no matter what your belief system is, because you're human, you have a human body, you need to be able to you should have the best access to things so that you can have a healthy vessel, right? When you look at our country, our air is being poisoned. Our farmlands are laced with so many chemicals and poisons. The water we drink from our faucets are laced with so many pharmaceuticals and fluoride still, and God knows what else. And then we wonder, outside of the diet, like my sister just said, why we're such an unhealthy nation. Well, it seems that everything we're putting into our vessel, even the water we drink, including the water we bathe in, because remember, the skin is a huge organ that still absorbs, is all laced with chemicals. And even for those people that'll say, well, I only eat organic, or guess what? A lot of organic, there's still gonna be things that seep in from the air, from the ground. It's virtually impossible to be 100% protected from these chemicals and poisons. And to me, there's no justification for that. It is unacceptable. It has always been unacceptable for us in terms of our opinion, how we look at it. And to be in a position now that we could enter a phase within our country where we can start reversing some of these things. I mean, without health, forget about the fighting, forget about the other priorities, forget about the other things you're so passionate about. What are you going to do? What are any of us going to do in this country if we don't have our health? If we don't have fresh, good, healthy food? If we don't have good, clean water?
Mi gente, we're going to start wrapping it out because your girls are a little tired. I mean, we need some fresh, cold air in Albany. But we want to just check in to show you these little crowns. It feels like we graduated. You guys know that, we lost our livelihoods. I mean, I guess I have to start changing that word, but the thing is that our ability to make money since COVID, since these restrictions, since these mandates, because of the cancel culture, because we decided to speak out for medical freedom, why has that gotten in the way for us to even be able to create a life for ourselves? We're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for anything from people. We were just wanting to be left alone so we could create, participate, and continue to build our business. But all of that has been in a pause state since the Biden administration came in. Their policies, their vaccine mandates ruined lives.
The control.
The censorship. Censorship led to people not having information that could have saved lives. This feels like an instrumental moment for us because